All right. Hello, everyone. Pleasure to see all of you here. It's funny. One of the best decisions that Titus and Peter and the team here made when they started this conference was to require everyone to dress nicely. It's really funny how much that improves the quality of the attendees. Just that bar, which you would think would be pretty easy to clear, just filters out so many people you might not otherwise want to talk to. So I always love this conference for that reason, if nothing else, and then seeing many friends and faces here that I see occasionally. Great to catch up with all of you. So I'm Trey Goff at Próspera. I'm Chief of Staff and our Director of U.S. Government Affairs. And I want to tell you guys a little bit about what we're up to and primarily focus on kind of what's new over the last few years. So before I dive in, raise your hand if you've heard of Próspera, read an article, watched a video, something. Amazing. Okay, I can skip like the first part of my presentation to keep it really short then, because you already know what we're about. Second question, raise your hand if you've been to Próspera, you've actually visited. Amazing. Okay, so some of this will be familiar for many of you. So let's talk a little bit about kind of what we do. And it looks like the clicker is not working. Let's see. No? Oh well. There we go. So we effectively provide governance as a service. Now, what do I mean by governance? Governance is the rules of the game. It's the water in which we all swim. It's what enables entrepreneurs and investors and individuals to flourish and to achieve their full potential or not. Governance institutions are the key that either makes or breaks the prosperity or poverty of a nation, of a jurisdiction, right? And we know from the academic literature, from the data, from the evidence, that good governance is strongly correlated with positive outcomes. But that's kind of high level and fluffy, so I'm going to take just 30 seconds to kind of bring this down to a core that is much more kind of concrete and relatable, right? So I was the first full-time employee at Próspera, been at Próspera a long time. But about 2 years ago, I took a brief, roughly year-long hiatus to try my hand at building a tech startup myself in the United States. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, as many kind of first-time tech startups don't. But along the way, the number of regulatory barriers and legal barriers I faced to building a fairly simple product and application were incomprehensible. So let me give you just a few examples of what I mean by governance being the key to prosperity, of governance unlocking the ability of entrepreneurs to build things, right? My product was super simple. We paid students to learn, right? Students take a course. When they take a course, they compete against all the other students in the course on a final skill challenge, a final exam. And the winner, each month, would get paid real money, cash, get paid to learn, right? Well, the first barrier I ran into had a simple idea. Hey, what if we put some flyers up in public schools, right? Advertised to primary school students. Well, it turned out to do that, to put up flyers in the school, I had to register with the Department of Education, and they had to review my curriculum, which they were not going to like. So I ended up not doing that entirely. I simply could not have access to my largest, most obvious customer base, right? Another problem, to actually enable students to get paid to learn, we had regulatory ambiguity and uncertainty on if I was going to be classified, our company, as effectively a gambling scheme, which makes no sense because you're competing on an objective outcome, how well you do on an exam, to get paid, right? Never mind that kids without their parents' permission can spend hundreds of dollars anytime they want buying Fortnite skins or whatever. So these are just a few small, tangible examples of what I mean when I say governance is the key to unlocking human potential and prosperity, right? Now the difficulty is, and I'm sure Yvonne and others in Argentina are facing these battles right now, is that getting the depth of reform you need to move from where we are now and the regulatory and legal environment we're in now in most developed nations to the optimal level, to the level at which human potential can be unleashed, is extremely difficult. It's not impossible. The key word there is nearly, but it's very difficult, right? And even if you succeed along the way, you're going to have to make compromises. And while you can drastically improve the conditions at nation scale, it is very difficult to get those conditions, to get the governance environment to the level it needs to be to truly unlock human potential. But we do know it's possible. We can do it at city scale with special jurisdictions that can transform nations and regions with good governance. Very basic concepts. Security, the rule of law, enforcement of contracts, protection of private property, fair and rapid resolution of disputes with an impartial justice and dispute adjudication system, right? This is not complicated, which is the other frustrating part about it. We know what works. We just won't do it. But we know it can work, right? Hong Kong led to Shenzhen, and Hong Kong, Shenzhen, and the special economic zone system in China is a large part of what drove Chinese economic development. Today, there are 46 special economic zones in China, responsible for a vast majority of their exports, their economic activity, and other things, right? So we know that this example can work, that creating special jurisdictions with better rules and a better environment can work effectively. So that is exactly what we do at Próspera. We deliver governance as a service in partnership with host nations through special jurisdictions, right? We have an open and dynamic regulatory system, which I'll go into a little bit of detail about here in a second, although most of you should be familiar, so I'm going to skim over it, sounds like. A low and simple tax system, efficient, effective private dispute resolution, and high-quality general services. The simple stuff that you need the conditions to set in order for humans to be able to unleash their full potential, no matter what that may be. Now, the regulatory system we have, particularly in Próspera, if any of you are also public policy nerds like myself, is one that has effectively a marketplace of regulators. We operate under a regulatory insurance system, right? So when you operate in a regulated industry in Próspera, you're required to get regulatory insurance. When you do that, you make a selection of the regulatory code you'd like to follow, or you have the right by law to propose to the Próspera Council a new regulatory system. This is then enforced through these private insurance companies, creating a market dynamic to determine the best, most efficient level of regulatory enforcement over time. And we've been building it. Our primary project is on the island of Roatan, off the coast of Honduras. We have a sister site on the mainland in La Ceiba, and are actively in negotiations with several other jurisdictions. Part of the reason I've kind of taken over as a lot of our US public policy is because we're trying to do this in the US as well, to develop the legal frameworks needed to provide governance as a service and unleash the economy of any given host nation we partner with. And eventually have a network of tens, dozens, eventually hundreds of these hubs, not just run by us, but many of you here in the audience, entrepreneurs in the space as well, to create a network of places where people can go to unleash their untapped potential. So what does it actually look like on the ground, now that you kind of understand at a high level what it is we do at Próspera? What it looks like on the ground is awesome. You can see here a picture of our 14-story tower we completed last year, currently fully occupied. It's a mixed-use building with residence, commercial space, a retail floor, and it is located on the island of Roatan, as I mentioned, which is, you have direct daily connections and flights from a number of hubs in the United States, very easy to get to. Próspera itself is only about 10, 15 minutes from the airport, depending on traffic, and you can fly straight to the island to get to the project. And despite some of the legal challenges we've been facing, which I'm sure some of you might be aware of if you follow kind of the news for Próspera, we've been accelerating growth and traction in spite of these difficulties, right? Our e-residencies, entities, taxes, everything is up and to the right, as it should be. Because despite this legal uncertainty, people recognize the value proposition of going to a place where you can actually build the things that you want to build. And we've had a lot of interesting people coming to visit, a lot of activity over the last few years, you know. Brian Johnson came to visit Próspera and received one of the gene therapy services that is provided in the jurisdiction by some of the entrepreneurs there. You know, we've had Balaji, Tyler Cowan, a bunch of other kind of interesting people come visit. We do regular events and have started to get that kind of early nucleus of a community and of density building in the jurisdiction. And we're continuing to build, continuing to accelerate, continuing to grow, right? Well, we launched the world's first AI paralegal. So you can go to chat.eprospera.com right now and ask any questions you have, no matter how complex, about the Próspera legal and regulatory system to figure out if it's a good fit for you and if we can be the place for you to come build and do what it is that you want to come build and do. Let's go over a little case study really quickly to kind of put this in concrete, specific terms, right? Unlimited Bio is a company in Próspera that offers some cutting-edge therapeutics, right? They leverage molecules that have already been safely used in Russia and other jurisdictions over several decades, already been through kind of safety and efficacy trials. And they combine these things to provide novel treatments to attack kind of multiple vectors and multiple etiologies of disease at the same time. To do this in the United States would have costed them well over $500 million and taken at least a decade, if not much, much longer. In Próspera, they went to market in less than a year and at a regulatory compliance cost of a little over $20,000. You can see a screenshot down there of one of the Kardashians that actually received Unlimited Bio's therapy at one of their partner clinics in Mexico. But what is it like actually on the ground? What's it like to be there? That's what I want to really focus on because, you know, if you want to get into the policy details, come find me afterward. I'm happy to nerd out about that all day. What's really important is what's actually going on. So right now we have two main districts. You have Pristine Bay and the Beta District, right? The Beta District is kind of the startup, more entrepreneur, kind of go-getter vibe. Pristine Bay is also a resort, hotel, restaurant, beach club. Really fun place to kind of work out and hang out. We have co-working spaces in the beach club and elsewhere to kind of combine that fun Caribbean vibe with the more driven and focused builder, entrepreneur, startup ecosystem that has developed in the jurisdiction. You can see the Beta District here and the Beta Building in the foreground there, called the Beta Building, funnily enough. That wasn't really intentional. We called it this internally. I think Titus might have actually started this initially, calling it the Beta Building, and it just kind of stuck because it was a beta test of our governance software, right? So the Beta Building it shall be henceforth. So we have the Duna residences I mentioned earlier. We have the Beta Building. We have Circular Factory, which is a robotics construction manufacturing facility that develops and uses advanced robotics to enable us to construct things much more quickly and cheaply than would otherwise be possible with much less material waste. And we have Pristine Bay, which you can see an aerial view of here. Pristine Bay is comprised of, you can see the hotel there on the left, you can see the beach club on the right, 18-hole golf course for those of you interested in those sorts of things. It's a very fun place to just come live, work, and hang out and visit as well. We have the Infinita Dome. It's actually the largest geodesic dome in Latin America, where we host a lot of our events. It's a really cool space. Tim Draper, the kind of legendary investor, actually came and shot an episode of his startup competition show in the dome a few months ago. We have, obviously, as I mentioned, Pristine Bay, where you can kind of hang out, actually have fun. The Las Verandas Hotel and Villas, which we also recently renovated, and are a super nice kind of higher-end experience. And then we have a bunch of layer 2 ecosystems on the ground. Also, apologies for the stray word nomads there in the background. If you've ever tried to convert a PDF to PowerPoint, don't. It's not fun. We have the Infinita District. We have the Bitcoin District. We have the Nomad District. We have a number of what we call kind of layer 2 intentional community partners building all sorts of cool stuff on the ground. We have the GARM Clinic. We have Pristine Academy, which is a very kind of excellent Montessori-based school for families that might have students and school-age children in the jurisdiction. And it's just a fun place to be honest. The energy on the ground is hard to describe in words, but to be amongst your peers, to be amongst a community that believes as you do, that is there for the same reasons you are, is an experience that's difficult to replicate and difficult to describe. And I encourage you all to come visit and see what it's like for yourself. We also have a bunch of fun stuff to do when you come visit, right? World-class diving, the world's second largest barrier reef, the Mesoamerican barrier reef, like 100, 200 meters off of our shore. We have white sand beaches, golf. There's a bunch of other fun stuff that some of the residents and the community pull together often. We have a kind of a Top Golf clone competitor, so you can do kind of a Top Golf type thing. You might have seen before, although I typically try to hide this when the documentary people come because it looks a little edgy. There are people that do these like electric knife fights. It's super cool, right? So they have these little electrified knives. They're not really knives. It's just like a piece of metal. They're not sharp, but they're electrified. So you know if you got a hit because it shocks the other person. Super fun kind of combat sport that has developed in the jurisdiction. The kind of things you're going to find in a community like Próspera, right? So there's all sorts of fun stuff to do. And we're growing rapidly. So first, I'm going to kind of flip through really quickly just some of the things that are being constructed right now. And you can see under construction right here is the first stage of the Nomad Village, which is building both a community house and a bunch of housing that'll be kind of lower cost and affordable for entrepreneurs and nomads to come live and work in the jurisdiction. You can see here what kind of the small micro hotel that's currently under construction that they're building is going to look like when it's finished. And some renders of what this will look like, the views you'll have from the location that they're building in the Beta District. It's going to be awesome. Very fun place to hang out. They're building a couple different types of homes as well at different sizes, kind of 4 different use cases with some kind of cutting edge architecture and manufacturing styles. They're using Circular Factory, that robotics factory I mentioned earlier, to build these things much more cheaply and quickly than would otherwise be possible. And this is just one of several projects currently being constructed as we speak in the jurisdiction, right? Their community house is going to be particularly cool, kind of a striking building when completed. And that's just one of the projects. We also have Darien Village under construction, okay? Darien Village, similar kind of type of project, multi-story buildings, both dual use as well, primarily residential, but some commercial as well. That also is currently under construction. It will be right behind the Duna Tower to increase density there in the Beta District where a lot of the entrepreneurs live and work. And what's important about Darien Village in particular is it starts with those buildings you see here, these 4 or 5 buildings here. but it is their master plan is expandable out to dozens of these buildings effectively, and they hope to end up over the next few years with hundreds of units in the jurisdiction, all of which, again, with great ocean views, and it will be an amazing place to live and work. Terrazin is building some, as you can see here, very kind of cool and innovative buildings, the first of which is already completed, actually, as kind of a test to make sure that the modular construction, the robotic construction techniques here would work as intended, and work they did. It's also a very cool kind of structure. They're building several more of these as we speak. You can see here the actual robotics factory where they build the kit of parts that ends up being these kind of uniquely shaped and innovatively designed structures. We have the 1312 condos under construction. These are kind of nicer, a little bit higher end. These will be in the Pristine Bay district, a little bit of a higher price point than the previous ones I mentioned. If those of you that kind of have families or looking for more of that luxury lifestyle, you'll be able to find that in these condos, which are also, we're doing the dirt work for these as we speak. Going to be a quite kind of nice, more luxurious interiors, and a fun place to kind of be, to live and work, right? Now, one of the things I'm most excited about, though, is that hopefully many of you might be able to visit sooner than you might think. And to address that point specifically, I want to invite Peter back up onto the stage.
Okay, so lots of exciting stuff going on in Próspera, as you could see. And I'm sure that those of you who've been attending for several years will have heard all these amazing things and seen all these amazing PowerPoint slides with pictures, renderings, and information about what's going on. So, as you know, we've been running the Free Cities Conference now for 6 years in a row. There was a first sort of small gathering in Monaco back in 2020. We then moved to Mulheim in Switzerland in 2021. And we've been here in Prague now for 4 years. And the intention is very much to keep Prague as kind of like this base place. We love Prague. It's a fantastic city. It's very easy to reach for a lot of people. And it's got amazing culture, architecture, and history. But one thing that keeps coming up is people say to us, well, why don't you guys actually run a conference in a real free city? Then we can see it and experience it ourselves. And so, with quite a lot of planning and deliberation, we have made the decision that in 2026, we are going to host our first ever Free Cities Conference in a free city. And, okay. Oh, that's all right. We can stick on this. And I'm super excited, honestly. I was in Próspera earlier this year, about 3 months ago, and it's incredible to see how much progress has been made. When I first went, to me it was more about the concept and the potential. But now I'm going back. There's people in the co-working space working on their own businesses. The circular factory is up and running. You can go in there, you can see the construction workers. You can have food in cafe, pay in Bitcoin over the Lightning Network. It's really happening in Próspera. And so, yeah, I'm excited that we're able to bring this event to Próspera. Now, when you go, you're not going to see a fully completed city. It's still, we're talking hundreds of people on the site, dozens of people, hundreds of people, depending on what's happening at any particular time. And there are still some capacity constraints for how big the event can be there. So in the room today, there's probably, at the conference today, there's probably about 330, 340 people. But for the Próspera event, it's probably going to have to shrink down to below 300, we think. So it's going to be quite tight for space in terms of basically we'll have to limit the tickets we sell slightly. So we're announcing it at this year's event so that those of you who are super keen on getting a foot in the door, coming to this experience can do so. So I'm sharing the information now on the ticketing. The regular ticket we have for Próspera is now on sale. It's going to be priced at $400 or $399 US dollars. But we're doing a discount for people that are at our conference today. It's 25%. So if you want to come to the conference, you've already attended one, we're offering a special discount to you. So that's $299. That includes a meal for you on the Friday and Saturday of the program, just like the premium tickets that you get here. And we also do have if you're on a budget, we can also offer this as a budget option. It doesn't include food, but we want to make this event as accessible as possible. And then if you want the full VIP experience, that's $999. That gets you the full VIP dinner, access to absolutely everything on the program. And if you get that within the next 10 days, then it's 25% off as well. So I would encourage... Cool. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, it's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And I know that it's a long way to go for a lot of people here who are based in Europe. So there is definitely that trade-off in terms of the travel. But I can promise you that once you get there, this is truly like a paradise island. It's going to be an amazing conference with all the things you've come to expect from our event. But also, add on to that, world-famous scuba diving, golfing in a championship golf course, kayaking. They've got a fantastic 5-star resort of Las Verandas that we can make use of while we're there. So it's going to be the full package. And I'm really excited. I hope that as many of you as possible will be able to join us. So the dates. That's a very important detail. It is happening slightly earlier in the year. Next year. It's happening from September the 3rd to the 6th. And the reason we've chosen those dates, we normally do this towards the end of October, is that we want to avoid the rainy season. We want to have good weather. So this is like the ideal time to come around the summer months. It's not quite the peak heat of sort of mid-July and August. We're sort of coming off a little bit there, but we're also not into the rainy season. So yeah, hopefully you guys can make it. Hopefully a good 300 days is enough notice to make some plans. Yeah, if you want to find out more, I would encourage you to take a photograph of this. This has got the website that's online. My colleague Jan has been working behind the scenes to get the ticketing done, so tickets are now available. You can also buy a ticket directly from the Free Cities Foundation booth. So if you're not worried about QR codes, and you can just go to our booth, you can buy the tickets, and you can get it at the special discounted price. And of course, as I say, this event will sell out. We are going to be at capacity for the venue. That's going to give it a fantastic atmosphere. But yeah, if you do want to come, I encourage you to sort of make the call pretty soon. You got a question, Scott? There will be some provisions made for children, like there are at this conference. Yeah. Yeah, good question. So we, Próspera, very kindly put on a range of accommodations at different budgets. So we've got everything from the full 5-star resort experience at Las Verandas, where you can stay, have an amazing breakfast. You're literally at the pool. You have access to a private beach. Then we have the kind of mid-tier, but I say mid-tier, it's actually really nice and luxurious too. It's Juna Tower. You can have studio apartments there. There's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartment options. There's also a dorm that they've introduced. Infinita have got a dorm room. If you're traveling on a budget, you're a student, you want to get it over, we've got really affordable dorm room options as well. So I would say the accommodation will go, in Próspera, will probably go quite quickly. So if you're keen on this, you've got a particular choice, I would encourage you to just book the ticket, book the accommodation soon. There will also other options on the island. It means you have to get a taxi from where they are to Próspera in the mornings. Still very doable, but obviously it's best to be on the site, experiencing it. Is there anything you would add to any of that, Trey, about the what things, accommodation and things like that, or
no, that's exactly
set up
right.
in?
Yeah, we have all the options that Peter listed. Hopefully, although I've learned the hard way to not promise particular construction completion dates, but hopefully several of the things I mentioned here are done by that time, so we'll have a little bit more space. And you can go to prospera.co. There's a visit tab up at the top. Just click visit. There's direct links there to any of these you might be interested in. And if you want to learn more or curious, want to learn kind of which accommodation might be more kind of beneficial for your particular kind of liking, just find me, let me know. Happy to talk about it and help you make a choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And for now, what will happen is if you buy a ticket, we'll receive your email. And when accommodation options are finalized, which will be quite soon, you'll be the first to know about it. So you'll be able to choose and make that decision. Anyone else have any questions or comments on that before we move to the next part? Yannick.
How long is the discount valid for?
Until the 10th of November. Okay. Yes, sir. Sorry? If you are interested in speaking, you can email us and put together a proposal. Yeah. Okay, great. So hopefully that's come as a good news to everyone. I'm really excited about that. Before we all depart for lunch, it's a tradition at our conference that we have a group photograph to show how our audience has grown every year. And I can see this room is packed, so I'm sure we're going to get an even better group photograph. Obviously, if you prefer to be more private and not have the photo, then you don't need to participate, but we would really encourage everyone, as many people as possible, to. It's a really great way to remember the event and commemorate the experience we've had here. So I'm now going to ask everyone to kind of make their way towards the stage, and I'm going to hand over to Menina, who is our star photographer, who will be directing us and telling us where to stand so that we look great.